Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Friday Reads, aka where I talk about all the books I've read this week and or plan on reading this weekend. So, this week, what has happened? Well, for one, remember when I said that I was not going to get an e-reader and that I was going to use my iPad because it had like Apple Books or whatever the case may be? Well, you see, what happened was I ended up getting an e-reader. We decided to get an e-reader to see if this would be better, and I actually really do enjoy it, and it could be because I just got it, so the feeling of having something new is clouding my judgment. But for now, it feels cool. I haven't been able to sit down and read just yet because I have like other books that I'm reading at the moment, but I like it. I like how it feels on my eyes and it's not as harsh. I also decided to get another book because I'm realizing that there's like a lot of books that I can get for the low on here. So Demon Copperfield I got for like $1.99, I think, or maybe $2.99. I think it was $2.99. And then I also got the Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. And I got this one for $1.99, I think. The Fifth Season is a book that I've been if I when I read this again, it'll be like my third attempt at trying to read it. I think both times I didn't get that far, but I think I got decent enough. I think there was like kids that were like at a school or some sort of like camp, like it wasn't like a school, but it was a terrible school, and like they left and then they saw it was like people attached to like monuments or whatever. I got that far. I didn't finish it or anything like that. So I figured I would give it another shot because I think also too at the time when I was reading a lot of books for the sole purpose of saying like, hey, I read this book and I finished it. But this time around, I really want to read books and be in the presence of the books, experience the books and get to understand the books. And so yeah, this one I got from Amazon. This is the Kobo Clara color, and that's all I know about it because I really don't know too much about e-readers, and I didn't really sit and spend too much time researching. I just knew I wanted a e-reader and I just typed up list of e-readers and then I came across this. And so and then I got the cover also too. So it doesn't come with the cover. I bought it separately. Got this one from Amazon as well. And so yeah, I got myself an e-reader. Hey, I've also been listening to some audiobooks this week. I feel like oftentimes I am doing things, I'm doing chores, I'm cleaning, I'm working really, really hard. And so I don't usually have the time to sit down and read a book like I would like to, or like I used to be able to. And so I was like, let's just try Audible. And so I went into Audible and I saw that my mom had like 5 credits. I was like, girl, what you doing with 5 credits? And so I decided to pick up The Neighbor Favor by Kristina Forest. Now I Want to Be Where You Are from her, I think, a few years ago on my other booktube channel, and I thought it was really cute. It was a really cute YA about neighborhood friends. I think they're in the same neighborhood or close to each other, or like they have history. They used to be friends when they were kids, and they separated for whatever reason, and then they decide to link up to go to like do a road trip because the girl had an audition to do or something like that, and she was like a ballet dancer or something like that. And it was really cute. It was really adorable. I remember reading it and just having a really good time. I think it also too was during the time that there was like this huge blackout in my county. So it was really fun sitting by the candles and reading it and all that stuff like that and having absolutely nothing to distract me. And so when I seen that she had an adult book called The Neighbor Favor, I was like, well, let me give it a shot. So upon listening to it, I immediately was thinking about, well, it was hard for me to get into it at first because I wasn't used to listening to audible books. And so I had to get comfortable with my attention span and me being able to retain information that was being read to me. Once I got over that hump, it felt, it was fine. I was able to like multitask while listening to the Audible. One of the things that I had noticed at first was that the narrator for the guy, it was really noticeable how he would inhale a lot. And so like he would say something and he would be like, I went to the stairs. I took off my shoes, put my shoes by the door. You know, like when you feel like you realize something that you feel like you shouldn't be realizing it, but like now that you've realized it, it's hard for you to stop realizing it. And that's how it felt like for me. It was something that I had to get used to for sure, because it didn't go away. It was there the entire listening experience. The girl's voice, she didn't seem to fit the characters for me. I think she blended well with the boss, Edith, better than she did Lily and her sisters. And also to the guy's narration, whenever he would impersonate the Lily or girl characters, he would use this kind of voice. It was just like, it was too comical enough for me to take it serious. And so when that would come about, especially when it would be times where it was like an intimate scene and he would use her voice, I was just like, the overall experience was fun. It kept me engaged the entire time. There were times where I had to go back and like say, because I couldn't believe what was happening. I had a lot of commentary while I was listening to it, so much so that my husband came up to me. He's like, who are you talking to? Trying to be nosy. And I had to tell him, like, I'm listening to a book. And so I love when books are like that. What this experience has told me is that I enjoy listening to romances as opposed to reading them myself, especially when it's like romances that are not necessarily literary fiction, but more so like rom-com, where it has like all of the tropes, where it's more so like it's supposed to be like an easy, fun reads. And so, yeah, I think I'm definitely going to assign those type of books for audible books, and see how that goes from there. I'm also currently reading 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, I think her name is. And I started that, but I'm not far enough to sit here and come to you guys and tell you what the book is about, but I do plan on restarting it. I think I didn't get that far. I just wanted to listen to it a little bit, but yeah, that's what I'm going to start reading, listening to moving forward. But as far as The Neighborhood Favor, so it's pretty much about a young woman named Lily Green. She has a sister named Violet Green, and oh my gosh, what was the other one? It was Lily, Violet, and I don't know, but they're like all like flower names. But anyways, so it's about this young lady named Lily Green, and she's an editor at a company that she doesn't really like. At the moment, she is editing nonfiction books, but she aspires to edit children's books. In the beginning of the story, she's on her way to go somewhere, I guess to go meet her sister or something like that, or to go somewhere about her job. And she's on the train and she is feeling pretty lightheaded because it's really hot and it's really stuffy and crowded. And so she decides to distract herself by writing this guy named N.R. Strickland, that he is the author of one of her favorite books. And she realizes that he has contact information. He's known to not be publicly out there, and so her finding his email address on his website, it shocks her enough to want to like speak to him. So she emails him, and then before she can finish anything, she passes out. Now, what happens when she passes out is that the email gets sent to him anyways. And so she kind of like goes on about her day or whatever the case may be. Now, the author receives the email and he talks to her, and from there they create a relationship where they pretty much just like they create a communication where they pretty much just go back and forth with each other on email. Now, I wouldn't say that from this, they get to know each other. I wouldn't say I wouldn't go that far to say that, but oftentimes when you are listening to or reading, when you're reading romance books, we are supposed to use our imaginations and pretend like that small amount of communication means that they have grown to know each other well enough to fall in love and to want to be together and to all that stuff like that, right? Still, so they talk to each other long enough that they decide to set up a date to speak to each other via video chat. As the days get closer, N.R. Strickland decides to back out of it because he doesn't want her to find out who he is. Now, the issue with that is because N.R. Strickland is a pseudonym for a guy named Nick. He has created this fake person in order to hide his true identity from his dysfunctional parents. When they are speaking to each other, he is getting to know, he is getting the real Lily Green, but Lily is not getting the real N.R. Strickland in a sense of he's supposed to be a British author. There's not much that he really disclosed to her other than his work, what he's doing, what he's currently doing, what they would do if they were hang out and be together or something like that. But she doesn't really know him like that. So when it comes time to really identify the man behind the pseudonym, he flakes on her, he ghosts her, and they don't speak to each other for a really long time. Fast forward to the present, they are living in the same building without knowing. Now, this ghosting situation has really impacted Lily. She's not the type of person who's able to comfortably put herself out there enough to make genuine connections, comfortable connections, long enough to establish relationships. She is also the type of person that she is surrounded by a lot of Black excellence. So all of her sisters are successful. Her parents are successful. And to her, there's this pressure that she feels like they are expecting from her as well. And they're not outwardly saying that. They're not coming out of their face and saying you need to be successful. But they try to be of help, be of assistance when they say, okay, I found this guy, do you want to hang out with him? Why don't you go on a date with him? Here's another guy, give him a shot. Here's another guy, give him a shot. And then her mom is I was speaking to your aunt and we were thinking about you doing law school, and this would be more beneficial and this would be more successful. This would give you more money. This route seems more promising. And to her, that starts to feel like pressure on her because these are the things that she's not interested in. The guys that they're bringing towards her, she's not interested in them. And so in her head, she thinks that she's not good enough. She isn't doing she's not performing at her best in regards to where she is at in her life right now. And so she has become, she's always been, and plus she's always been the quiet type, the type to not necessarily put herself out there. And so she has this in her head that she's this awkward individual who is incapable of meeting like-minded people and having them like her enough to want to be with her. And so when she finally gets the opportunity to meet someone that she thinks is on her level, likes the same things that she likes, and they are compatible, and he ghosts her, she takes it pretty hard. And that's understandable. So she meets Nick in the building because she's sleeping on her sister's couch in her apartment in New York. And she meets Nick. She doesn't know that this is N.R. Strickland, and Nick doesn't know that that's Lily at first. But there's an attraction there. There's a natural attraction there. And when Lily is with her sisters, one of her sisters announces that she's going to get married. And so she was thinking that for her wedding, she wanted to hook her up with someone that she knows And then her oldest sister, she was like, well, if that doesn't work, then I've got someone for you. And she gets to the point where she's just like, I don't need any of you guys' help. How about we make a bet? If I can find someone to bring to the wedding, you guys have to leave me alone for like the rest of my life. And so it's a bet. So she gets it in her head to try to talk to Nick so that Nick can help her. Or at first, she wants to ask Nick to be a pretend date for her to go to her sister's wedding. At first, it's kind of a little awkward because it's like there is a high level of attraction there, but Nick has it in his head that he does not want to be in a relationship with Lily when he finds out who she is. And that's understandable because Lily does make it known that she has been hurt before from a guy who's ghosted her, and she would be mad if she ever came in contact with him. So Nick decides, okay, well, I can't be with her. I'm gonna just keep my distance. I don't want to hurt her. I don't want to put her through that experience again, right? And so we start this whole we like each other, but we can't be together kind of scenario. Now, it then changes from, okay, Lily says, all right, since you don't want to go with me, how about you help me find someone? And then that forces them to be together, hang out with each other, be in close proximity with each other for a good portion of the story. The problem with that is Nick is trying to establish these boundaries in regards to like not hooking up with her, not getting too close, not moving too far in their relationship, and just trying to remain friends. It's a little difficult when you really like the person and the level of attraction exceeds friendship boundaries. And so there are plenty of times where they're hanging out with each other and they just can't help it. They want to cross that line. And we explore that relationship, we explore that dynamic, and we see how pretty much what happens when you decide to, regardless of where you stand in your life right now, regardless of your past, regardless of what you think or how you feel about yourself, is it worth and are you worth taking that leap of faith, whether that's in love or in life? And so it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. To me, I remember in the beginning, because there was a lot of insecurities that was being brought to the table. There was a lot of low self-esteem that was being brought to the table. And I was a little bit on edge because at first I was like, I hope this is not like a situation where they trauma bond themselves into a relationship, because that's never really a good thing. In the beginning, Lily spent a lot of her time talking about how she's not good, she's not worthy, she's awkward, she's this, she's that, in a negative light. And it got to the point where Nick felt obligated to help her find a dude because she constantly spoke about how she is just not good enough. And it was just like, people like that exist. I couldn't really get too upset with Lily because a lot of the qualities that Lily embodies reminds me of my younger self. It felt reflective in that sense. It then got to the point where Nick started to talk about the series of unfortunate events he had to endure growing up with his dysfunctional parents. And then it became a sad sack-off where they had to prove who was the saddest sack of them all. And so to me, it did come across as a bit annoying. In the beginning, Lily did kind of come across as a charity case. No guy ever would like me. No guy would ever look at me like that. No guy. And it was just like, oh my God. And then she's exposing this. She's telling this guy that she doesn't really know, who's her neighbor, all of this stuff. And it's just like, what? And then it's under the guise of, I don't know why, but there's something about you that makes me feel so comfortable enough to expose this vulnerable part of myself. And it was just like, what? Like, I don't know. It just kind of felt awkward at times. But Lily, she kind of comes across as an awkward kind of person where she says things and it's really awkward, but Nick finds it cute. So it's like, it's okay. And like, even though like she talks about her issues in regards to her having low self-esteem and not thinking highly of herself, Nick is the kind of person that spends a good deal saying like, no, like you are worthy. No, you are good. No, you are this. No, you are that. Lucky she found someone that can combat those insecurities. And I guess like it has a lot to do with her age too. And so that's why I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. But it's just like, I don't know, it becomes annoying at some point when you're dealing with a character and all she can ever bring forth to the conversation is just talking down on herself or speaking low of herself and just being a negative Nancy. But then when they both started doing it, it was just like, okay, all right, fine. It doesn't last long though, because Nick doesn't take a long time to come out and tell her everything tell her the truth. And of course, we have to go through a period where the author separates the characters so it can build up some tension so that when they do reunite, it feels so good. It really annoyed me because it was just like, okay, so you wanted to know the truth. You finally have the opportunity to find the truth. And then when you get the truth, you don't want to talk about it anymore. And to me, I've come to a place in my life now where it's like, if I'm having a conversation with my partner, I'm not walking away. Like, we are going to have this conversation. I'm not going to allow my anger to cause me to miss out on an opportunity to build and to repair and to grow and to transform whatever it is that we are going through in that moment. And so I feel like me listening to that with my own personal views, it did feel annoying to me when Nick was making himself available to have this conversation so that they can move past it. And her just walking away, it infuriated me. And I was in the kitchen screaming at her, like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Why are you walking away? Why are we not being adults here? But I feel like it was a really good experience. I really had a good time. I really enjoyed it. And this book has made me realize that I enjoy romances when they are in audiobook forms. And so I'm looking forward to more books to come. More audiobooks, I should say. Next, I am still currently in the middle of reading Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. I'm currently on page 294. I was supposed to have read this earlier today, but I did not. So I'm going to read this and then read my other book tonight. So we already know that this is about a 7-year-old boy named Christopher who goes into the woods and he's missing for like 6 days. He comes out of the woods and things change. In the beginning, it seems like things change for the better and life is on the up and up for Christopher and his mom and some of the people in the town. Christopher befriends an imaginary friend that he calls the Nice Man, who in the other episode of Friday Reads, we talked about how he helped him get out the woods, and he had instructed him to build a treehouse before Christmas Day. In this portion of my reading, we get into the significance of the treehouse. So we come to find out that the treehouse is actually a portal into the imaginary realm or the imaginary world. It exists like directly on top of his reality. Is what I should say. He can see everyone in the town. He can see the interactions and all that stuff like that, but they can't see him. And what's really important is that he shows up with the imaginary friend and during the day, because during the day, the evil lady is not able to see him. But at night, she can see him. In the prologue, or in the beginning of the story, we go back 50 years to a young kid named David who is trapped in the imaginary world. And he doesn't necessarily know what he's supposed to do, but he knows he's supposed to do something in order to save his brother and to save his family or whatever the case may be. But he gets captured and he gets stuck there. And when Christopher digs up a body, the police were able to connect David's DNA to the bones, or match David's DNA with the bones that they uncovered. And they find out that the kid was buried alive. When it comes down to the treehouse, he enlists his friends to help him build it. And what is starting to happen is anyone who interacts with the treehouse, or anyone who goes into the woods for that matter, they are starting to get affected by it. Now, what's also happening is whoever Christopher touches, because it's like anytime he ever goes into the imaginary world, the powers that he possesses, it gets stronger and stronger. But when he is in the real world, it's affecting him terribly. Like, he's getting these excruciating headaches, high fevers, and it's like, how is he functioning? Like, I know, like, he's popping like a lot of pills. He's taking like Advils and ibuprofens or whatever you would take, Tylenols and stuff like that when it comes down to alleviating headaches. But I'm like, he's 7 years old and he's taking, there was a point where he took like over 10 pills at one setting. And I'm like, that can't be good. But he's taking a lot of pills and he is still managing to function. And it's just like, what the heck? And it's so funny because one of the things that I'm realizing now is that whenever he touches people, they start to itch. So there's a lot of descriptions of the characters itching, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, I just got over that with the whole like Sue situation with Here One Moment by Liane Moriarty. And so here we go again, and it's like every single character seems to be itching from this burn that Christopher has given them when he touches them. It's getting close to that time where the lady is getting fed up. She's finding out who's helping Christopher in the imaginary world. You know, the kid David, we are starting to understand his character and the importance of his character being there. And they're pretty much trying to defeat the lady. I have a theory that the lady might have something to do with the lady that's in the attic, that the husband is starving out, because I think he kind of low-key wants her gone so that he can have a normal life with his family. I'm like, why would they single her out? But I don't know, like, we kind of go through different characters. Like, there's a character named Mary Catherine. I like her a lot because she reminds me so much of myself when I was young and the relationship that I had with God at that time. I used to have communications with God like that too. And so I just thought it was really funny. It was really cute. It's really silly. So Stephen kind of talks about different characters. So I don't know, like the lady can be a significant, the lady can hold a significance to the story and have a connection to the creepy lady. Or maybe she does not. I don't even know. But I do feel like the scary lady, she kind of reminds me of an archon. If you've ever studied Gnosticism or whatever, she kind of reminds me of an archon in the sense that she utilizes the people in a town to feed off of their energy. You kind of see when Christopher goes into the imaginary world, there are some things that she instigates or she initiates. And she just is around. And I think that she feeds off some of these people by ways of the deers that she controls in the woods. And so, yeah, to me, it feels like Coraline meets Inception meets Stranger Things. It feels like all of those things wrapped in one. I was thinking that it was the creepy lady that was doing this. She was luring these kids in. But I don't know, could it be the nice man that's doing this in order to, like, he's selecting specific kids to come into the imaginary world to help him, to help free him, to free the kids or whatever. Or it could be the nice lady or it could be the creepy lady. So I don't know. We shall see. But yeah, we have a long way to go. Like, we're at 294. I think it's like how many pages? Like, it's like almost 700 pages. So it's like anything can happen, I guess. But it's like, what more can we talk about? I don't know. Lastly, I'm currently reading War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. I am currently on page 406 of this book. I am definitely enjoying it. We already talked about this last episode, but it pretty much follows a select group of families. So it pretty much follows individual characters from select group of high societal families, and it just kind of follows them, their lives, and, you know, before and during the Napoleonic War, specifically the invasion in Russia, and how it affects these families, these individual characters, the choices that they make, and their involvement during that particular time. Sorry about that. So what were we were talking about we were talking about War and Peace. We're at a point where Pierre, he finds himself he meets up with this Freemasonry, and he says some things that kind of make me think about some of the things that were discussed before in the book, or spoken about before in the book. It's going to take me some time. But let me see if I can find it. So the guy, he talks about God, right? Because Pierre doesn't believe in God. He doesn't think it exists. And so we kind of have this little conversation here that makes me feel a particular kind of way. It's got me to thinking. So it says the highest wisdom is founded not on reason alone, not on the worldly sciences, physics, history, chemistry, and the like, into which intellectual knowledge is divided. The highest wisdom is one. The highest wisdom knows only a single science, the science of the whole, the science that explains the whole of creation and the place of mankind within it. In order to assimilate this science, it is necessary to purify and renew the inner self. And so before we can know, we must have faith and be made perfect. And for the attainment of these aims, we have had implanted into our souls the light of God, which is called conscience. And so with this line, it's got me to thinking a lot of things that I think the overall goal, and this is something that I've just kind of been exploring on my own personally too. There is this saying where it's like living within the world, but living in the world, but not living of the world. And actually there are some references to the differences between people who are choosing to be of the world and then people who are just, the selfless people that are just in the world, and they are there for the experience and the takeaway of the experience, as opposed to what they take for themselves within this experience. So we have the differences between Prince Maria and Prince Vasily. Prince Vasily is reference of being a person who is of the world, right? Of these materialistic things, right? He loves money. He has to be attached to people with money so that he can figure out ways that he can benefit from these people, and he can maintain his status and his wealth by making, via these connections. And then you have Princess Maria, who is someone who is very selfless. There are times where she finds herself very much attached to earthly things such as love, where she expresses how she wants happiness and she wants children, and she's praying to God, like, how can I detach myself from these devilish desires or desires of the devil, or whatever the case may be. So at the moment, I am trying my best to keep up with the diaries of me reading War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. And so hopefully I will dig deeper into my new theories of this book. I'm very much enjoying it. I'm loving the writing. I'm loving the conversations. But I have to go right now. And so thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys were able to enjoy yourselves. Until next time. Peace.